Welcome to Tribute to Legends. I'm Alexander. This channel is dedicated to honoring extraordinary individuals whose lives and achievements continue to inspire long after they are gone. Here, we remember unforgettable figures from film, music, television, and culture, reflecting on their influence, their story, and the legacy they left behind. Every tribute is a celebration of a life that truly mattered. Professional bowler Jacob Boutruff died July 31, 2026, at the age of 32. No cause of death has been announced. He won the 2019 USBC Masters along with 7 other national PBA Tour titles, but is also being remembered for competing with Team USA, including helping the team to a gold medal at the 2017 World Bowling Championships. Actor Scott Hylands died July 29, 2026, music, after fighting acute myeloid leukemia at the age of 83. He, music, starred as Detective Kevin O.B. O'Brien in Night Heat, the 1980s Canadian police drama that also aired in the U.S. on CBS Late Night. Hylands is also being remembered for his performances on such TV shows as Fargo and Supernatural. Actress Anne Robinson died September 25, 2025, in Los Angeles, at the age of 96. Her death was publicly reported in May 2026. Robinson is best remembered for her leading role in the 1953 science fiction classic, The War of the Worlds, in which she played Sylvia Vanburn, a woman trying to survive an alien invasion. She's also being remembered for appearances in such TV shows as Rahi Day, Gilligan's Island, and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Wheelchair athlete Bob Hall died April 12, 2026 of complications from pneumonia while in hospice care in Cambridge, Massachusetts. He was 74. In 1975, Hall became the first ever wheelchair champion of the Boston Marathon, a feat he repeated 2 years later, convincing the Boston Athletic Association to formally recognize wheelchair racing as an official division of the event. He's being remembered for inspiring countless other wheelchair users to pursue athletics and for being the catalyst that led to wheelchair divisions in dozens of other marathons. His work earned him entry into the Adaptive Sports Hall of Fame. The information about Garrett Anderson's reported passing is not verified in any reliable baseball records or public MLB sources. He is widely recognized as a retired professional player, not a deceased figure, so it's important to keep his biography accurate and respectful of confirmed history. Garrett Anderson is an American former Major League Baseball left fielder, best known for his long and productive career with the California/Anaheim/Los Angeles Angels franchise. He played 17 seasons in MLB from 1994 to 2010, also spending brief periods with the Atlanta Braves and Los Angeles Dodgers toward the end of his career. Anderson was a consistent and durable hitter, earning 3 All-Star selections during his career. One of his defining achievements came in 2002, when he played a key role in helping the Angels secure their first World Series championship. The following year, he was named the most valuable player of the 2003 All-Star Game, highlighting his continued impact at the highest level. He remains one of the most accomplished hitters in Angels history, holding franchise records for games played, hits, runs, RBIs, total bases, and extra base hits. Known for his quiet consistency rather than flash, Anderson built a reputation as a reliable middle-of-the-order presence and a cornerstone of the Angels' success in the early 2000s. Sally Field is not merely a Hollywood legend. She is a woman who survived the parts of life that the screen could never fully reveal. Before the Oscars, before the unforgettable performances, before audiences learned to recognize the quiet intensity behind her eyes, there was a young girl growing up in Pasadena, California, trying to understand a world that often failed to make her feel safe. Born on November 6, 1946, Field entered Hollywood as the bright, cheerful face of television, first through Gidget and later through The Flying Nun. To millions, she represented innocence, warmth, and effortless charm. But behind that image was a young woman carrying experiences she had not yet learned how to name. Her childhood was marked by family instability, emotional distance, and deeply traumatic experiences involving her stepfather, which she later described in her memoir In Pieces. Those experiences shaped the way she understood trust, love, identity, and survival. What makes Field's story remarkable is not simply that she endured those years, but that she eventually transformed the pain into extraordinary artistic power. She became Norma Rae, Sybil, the mother in Forrest Gump, and countless other characters whose emotions felt painfully real. Her career became a journey from invisibility toward self-definition, from being told who she should be toward deciding who she would become. Yet the road was never simple, and even after success, old wounds continued to influence the woman behind the legend. A childhood without safety. Every legend carries fractures, but some appear so early and so quietly that a person can spend decades learning how to live around them. Sally Field's earliest wounds began long before Hollywood knew her name. Her parents, Richard Dryden Field and actress Margaret Field, divorced when Sally was only 4 years old. Her mother later married actor and stuntman Jock Mahoney, and the family appeared outwardly functional while becoming increasingly complicated behind closed doors. In her memoir, Field revealed that she experienced sexual abuse by her stepfather during her adolescence, a trauma that profoundly altered her understanding of safety and trust. Perhaps one of the deepest wounds was the feeling that the adults around her failed to protect her. She later described the experience as something she carried internally for years, unable to fully express what was happening. For a child, silence can become a survival mechanism. Instead of asking whether the world is safe, the child begins asking how to become invisible inside an unsafe world. Field learned to retreat into herself, and imagination became an escape. Acting eventually offered something that ordinary life could not: permission to express emotions without having to explain where they came from. In performance, fear could become anger, sadness could become dialogue, and vulnerability could become strength. What began as an escape would eventually become her profession. But at this stage, acting was not about becoming famous. It was about finding somewhere she could breathe. The girl America loved Hollywood discovered Sally Field before Sally Field had fully discovered herself. In the mid-1960s, she became the star of Gidget, playing a youthful, energetic character whose optimism made her instantly appealing to television audiences. Soon afterward came The Flying Nun, which transformed her into one of America's most recognizable young television stars. The image was almost impossibly wholesome. She was cheerful, adorable, safe, and seemingly untouched by the darker realities of life. Audiences loved her, but Field gradually realized that the affection came with a trap. Hollywood had decided what kind of woman she was supposed to be, and the more successful that image became, the harder it became for her to escape it. She feared being permanently reduced to the cute girl from television, someone producers could trust to smile but not necessarily someone they would trust with complexity. By the late 1960s, she began rejecting roles that would simply repeat the same image. She stepped away from television for a period, risking financial security and professional momentum. To outsiders, it may have looked like a strange decision for a young actress at the height of popularity. But for Field, continuing in the same direction threatened something more important than fame: her identity. She wanted to become an actor rather than remain a television personality. That decision came with consequences. Work became scarce, confidence weakened, and Hollywood's attention moved elsewhere. Yet the disappearance that frightened her career became the space in which she rebuilt herself. Sybil changes everything. In 1976, Sally Field received the role that permanently changed the way the industry saw her. Sybil, the television film based on the book by Flora Rada Schreiber, required her to portray a deeply traumatized young woman experiencing dissociative identities. The material was psychologically demanding, emotionally exhausting, and dramatically far removed from the cheerful characters Field had previously played. She approached it with extraordinary seriousness, bringing a depth of vulnerability that audiences had never seen from her. Instead of simply acting frightened or broken, she created distinct emotional realities within the same character, allowing each identity to feel different, without becoming theatrical caricature. The performance stunned viewers and critics, and earned Field her first Emmy Award. More importantly, it broke the prison of her old image. Hollywood could no longer dismiss her as the girl from Gidget or the Flying Nun. She had demonstrated that beneath the television persona was an actor capable of carrying psychologically complex material. The irony was powerful. The experiences that had once made her feel voiceless were now helping her understand characters who struggled to communicate their own pain. Yet her performance was not simply an exploitation of personal trauma. It was the product of discipline, training, empathy, and years of fighting to understand herself. Sybil proved that Field's career was not over. In reality, it was beginning again. The young woman once treated as a lightweight television star had found a new language. She would use that language to challenge Hollywood's assumptions for decades to come. The woman who became Norma Rae. If Sybil proved that Sally Field could handle extraordinary emotional complexity, Norma Rae proved that she could command the screen with moral force. In 1979, she portrayed Norma Rae Webster, a Southern textile worker who becomes involved in organizing workers against dangerous and exploitative conditions. The role required Field to move beyond private emotion and embody a woman discovering her own political and personal power. She did not play Norma Rae as a flawless hero. She gave her exhaustion, frustration, humor, stubbornness, fear, and courage. The result was one of the defining performances of Field's career. When she accepted the Academy Award for Best Actress, the moment represented more than industry recognition. It symbolized a complete transformation. The woman Hollywood once considered too lightweight for serious dramatic work had become an Oscar-winning leading actress. Her famous acceptance speech, particularly the emotional declaration that audiences liked her, captured something deeper than celebrity excitement. It reflected years of insecurity and rejection. She had spent so long wondering whether she was enough, that finally receiving overwhelming recognition carried almost unbearable emotional weight. Field followed that triumph with another career-defining performance in Places in the Heart, portraying a widowed mother struggling to maintain her farm during the Great Depression. In 1985, she won her second Academy Award for Best Actress. The achievement placed her among the most respected performers of her generation. But the awards were only part of the story. What truly mattered was what they represented. A woman who had refused to remain trapped inside someone else's definition of her. A career without boundaries. After her 2 Academy Awards, Sally Field could have comfortably settled into prestige roles and allowed her reputation to carry her forward. Instead, she continued changing. She appeared in Steel Magnolias, bringing tenderness and emotional force to a story about friendship, motherhood, illness, and loss. In Mrs. Doubtfire, she demonstrated her ability to move between comedy and genuine emotional conflict. Then came Forrest Gump, where she played Mrs. Gump, a mother whose unconditional love becomes one of the emotional foundations of the story. The film became a worldwide cultural phenomenon, and Field's performance helped make the character feel human rather than sentimental. Her career continued into later decades with television and film roles that demonstrated how little interest she had in repeating herself. In 2012, she appeared as Mary Todd Lincoln in Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, earning another Academy Award nomination decades after her earlier victories. The significance of that nomination was difficult to ignore. Field had remained relevant across generations without depending on nostalgia. She had become something rarer than a star, an actor whose credibility could survive changing fashions. Her performances often carried an emotional tension that felt personal without becoming self-indulgent. She could be funny without losing depth, vulnerable without appearing weak, and forceful without sacrificing humanity. That versatility explains why audiences who first knew her from television could later discover her again through serious cinema. Sally Field did not simply survive Hollywood's changing expectations. She repeatedly changed faster than the expectations themselves. Love and the search for home behind the professional triumphs was another part of Sally Field's life that never received the same applause. Her longing for stability. In 1968, she married her high school sweetheart, Stephen Craig. Their sons, Peter and Eli, were born in 1969 and 1972, and motherhood became one of the most important sources of meaning in her life. For someone whose own childhood had been marked by instability and a lack of protection, building a secure family of her own carried enormous emotional significance. But marriage could not erase the wounds of childhood, and professional life created pressures of its own. Field and Craig eventually separated, and their divorce was finalized in 1975. She later married film producer Alan Greisman in 1984, and they had a son, Samuel. That marriage also ended in divorce in 1994. Field has spoken over the years about relationships, independence, loneliness, and the difficulty of learning to value herself outside the approval of others. Her romantic history was never simply a collection of marriages. It reflected a much deeper question: could she create the safe home she had once needed so desperately? Fame could provide beautiful houses, financial security, and public admiration, but none of those things guaranteed emotional safety. Her children became a central part of her life, and motherhood offered a kind of love that did not depend on box office numbers, awards, or public opinion. Yet the dream of a permanently intact family remained complicated. Sometimes the hardest losses are not spectacular. They are the quiet realization that the life you imagined may never look exactly the way you once hoped. The cost of being seen success gave Sally Field a voice, but it also exposed her to a different kind of vulnerability. Once she became an acclaimed actress, the public began examining her appearance, relationships, career choices, aging, and personal life, with the same intensity applied to every woman in Hollywood. Field grew older in an industry that has often treated aging actresses as if their value has an expiration date. Yet she continued working, appearing in major films and television projects, while refusing to disappear simply because she was no longer playing the ingenue. Her later career became a quiet rebellion against Hollywood's obsession with youth. She proved that an actress could become more interesting with age rather than less valuable. Her memoir In Pieces, published in 2018, offered another form of visibility. Rather than allowing the public to know only the polished version of her story, Field confronted painful parts of her childhood and adolescence directly. Writing the memoir required her to revisit memories she had spent decades carrying privately. It also allowed her to distinguish between surviving an experience and fully understanding its impact. The book revealed that success does not automatically repair old wounds. Sometimes people become exceptionally accomplished while still carrying questions that began in childhood. Field's willingness to speak about those experiences gave her legacy another dimension. She was no longer simply an actress who had portrayed wounded women convincingly. She had become a woman willing to speak honestly about the wounds she herself had survived. What remains beneath the applause? At 79, Sally Field stands at a point in life where the noise surrounding a Hollywood career can finally become quieter. The awards have already been handed out. The iconic performances have already entered film history. The photographs, interviews, red carpets, and applause have become part of a long public record. Yet the most meaningful part of her story may have little to do with any of them. It is the fact that she repeatedly rebuilt herself after experiences that could have convinced her she was powerless. She survived a childhood in which protection failed her. She survived being defined by television roles she felt unable to escape. She survived periods when Hollywood seemed to have forgotten her. She survived depression, professional uncertainty, difficult relationships, and the private burden of wondering whether she was enough. And each time, she found another way forward. That does not mean the past disappeared. Trauma does not work like a movie where the final scene resolves every conflict. Some wounds remain part of the architecture of a person's life. But Field's career demonstrates that wounds do not have to become the final definition. They can coexist with humor, motherhood, friendship, ambition, creativity, and extraordinary achievement. Her strength was never the absence of pain. It was her refusal to allow pain to dictate the boundaries of her existence. She became an actress capable of making millions feel understood, because she understood what it meant to struggle for a voice. A legacy still speaking. Sally Field's legacy ultimately reaches beyond the Oscars, the box office, and the characters audiences remember. It is the legacy of reinvention. She entered Hollywood as a young woman others could easily categorize, and she spent the rest of her career proving those categories wrong. She transformed from television sweetheart into Emmy-winning dramatic actress, from overlooked performer into two-time Academy Award winner, and from public celebrity into an author willing to examine the most painful chapters of her own life. Her story is not inspirational because everything worked out perfectly. It is powerful because perfection was never available to her. She had to build a meaningful life from imperfect circumstances, complicated relationships, professional rejection, and memories that could not simply be erased. Perhaps that is why her performances continue to resonate. When Sally Field plays a mother, a worker, a wife, or a woman fighting to be heard, there is often a sense that she understands the enormous emotional distance between appearing strong and actually feeling strong. The world saw the smile, the awards, the famous roles, and eventually the wisdom of age. But beneath all of it was the same woman who once learned that silence could be dangerous, and that disappearing could become a habit. She spent her life doing the opposite. She kept showing up. She kept speaking. She kept creating. And in doing so, Sally Field turned survival into an art form. Her greatest achievement may not be any single performance. It may be that after everything that once taught her to become invisible, she built a life in which the world could no longer look away.